So this is how anxiety, boredom, and flow states operate in practice. So if you think about any activity, starting a new job is a really good example as well. Even the simplest of jobs, your first day, it's an incredibly complex exercise, okay? Because there's systems that you don't get, there's people you don't know, there's all sorts of things going on that are way outside your expertise. So your skill set, this is your competency across the bottom, is low, and the complexity of the task is high. So when those two meet, this is your experience. You are overwhelmed and you are totally and utterly anxious about being able to get your job done. Now, as the weeks, months roll on, the task actually becomes easier because you become familiar with it and you realise it's not that complex, it's just because you didn't know what needed to be done. And so what happens is you realise that the task probably sits about here somewhere. It's actually not a radically complex job, it was more just the fact that it was new. And so whilst the complexity of the task shrinks or comes down, your skill set and your competency at doing that job increases because that's what humans do. We gather stuff and stick them in our heads and get better at things. So, skill set increases, you realise the task's not that difficult. There might be moments at work where, you sit in this space where you're kind of assuming that it's a mildly rewarding job, where you sit in this space where days go pretty quick and you're feeling pretty good. You're generally, at times, forget about the time, the clock doesn't seem to matter, you can get focused and do some quite amazing creative work depending on what the job allows for. However, we keep getting better at what we do, and we end up down here. And at some point in time, work becomes boring. And it becomes boring if you view it through a flow lens, not because the job itself is boring, but because your skill set now exceeds the complexity of the task at hand. So you're now sitting over here. Does that make sense as a paradigm for viewing experiences through? Okay, cool. And obviously flow then needs to be this perfect marriage between the complexity of the activity and your actual competency. Bang! Right there. So what you realise is when you've got low skills in something, don't bite off more than you can chew, basically. So you might have a chance of sitting here, but if you want to stay in this, as your skill set grows, the complexity's got to grow. So you've got to stay in here. So you've got to play better and better people in tennis. You can't keep playing people that you can thrash, because you'll end up over here. You can't keep playing people you're never going to beat, because you'll end up here. So this is where it sits. So this is how we understand anxiety, as an indication that you don't have the required skills for the complexity of the task at hand, rather than a story about how you're not good enough for stuff, or that no one likes you anyway, they're all talking about me, all this kind of jazz, okay?